Right, here we are at MetalTalk. We're here at the Giants of Rock Festival in sunny Minehead, and I'm here with BROMHAM of
Beautiful,
STRAY.
isn't it, Mark? Beautiful.
Fantastic. And recently you've been in sunnier climates.
Yes, indeed.
You've recorded a new album, which will be out very soon, and it's called Stray, live in Japan.
That's the one.
Which is a good documentation of 2 gigs you played out there last year. So
that's right, yeah, almost a year ago now. Almost a year ago now.
And obviously it's your first time you ever played Japan, so how did the offer come about?
Completely out of the blue. A small record label in Japan called Captain Trip Records. The guy there was a big fan of the band, a big fan of kind of 70s, predominantly British rock, although he liked American stuff as well, but crazy on vinyl, absolutely crazy on vinyl. And he said, would you like to come over to Japan and play? Part of the deal was, he said, you know, all expenses paid, but I'd love to record one of your shows. On proviso, I just want to press 500 vinyl albums for Japan. So I thought, great, you know, that sounds good. And then he was going to give me the rights back to do as I wished. And fortunately, Angelia Records, they're going to be bringing that out in March, the 10th, I believe. But you know, going back to Ken, we sort of followed that one through, and by complete coincidence, a friend of mine, Pete French, who sings in the band Leafhound, had the same call a couple of months before. So I mean, these are lovely people out in Japan, but obviously I didn't know them from Adam. You know, they could have been anybody just saying, "You come out, you know, come all this way." So I checked it out with Pete, and well, Pete was my guinea pig. So Mr. French, if you're watching this, thank you very much, Pete. But he was absolutely right. The Curtis people treated us so well. Audiences were fantastic, and I hope I can do it again. It's great.
And obviously Stray's been up for a long time, about 44 years now, so it's been a long time. So you go to Japan, was it a complete culture shock for you?
Yes it was actually, and also with the way they responded to our music, because I knew we had a following out there, and we were due to go out there a couple of times in the past. For one reason or another, we didn't get there, and when we got there, I mean, I sort of said it before, I needn't have worried too much, because there were people waiting for us at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon with their bags of vinyl. Can you sign this? Can you sign this? And 4:45. I mean, the venue opened about 7 o'clock. 4:45. They were queuing around the block, and interestingly enough, they knew all the songs. You know, completely different language. They knew all the songs. I could see them mouthing the words, and they were just mad for it. Absolutely mad for it. It was bizarre, because it was almost playing like for us like a London gig. Yeah. You know, I've said this as well before. It did kind of remind me of the old Marquee a little bit, the club itself. Yeah. But great atmosphere. Also, the trip we had allowed us to have a look around Tokyo and.
What was like the age groups? Obviously in England you do sort of attract a largely older audience, that's fair to say, sort of 40, 60-year-old age group. Was that the same for Japan?
I guess predominantly, yeah. But there were quite a few younger ones in there. And I've noticed in recent times we've had some younger ones creeping into our audiences, and I'm not quite sure why that is. You get some people come along and say, I used to listen to your records when I was a kid because my dad's got all your albums, things like that. And then you get the other side of the coin, where you get people, you know, like a mega band like Iron Maiden, for example. They're gathering new fans all the time. You go to a Maiden concert, they're, you know, my age down to teenagers.
And of course Iron Maiden recorded All In Your Mind as a B-side,
yeah,
so
and like, fans of bands, they're like real hamsters. They want to know, well, why did they do that? You know, and we get people come along off the back of Iron Maiden, you know, which is great. You know, it just keeps going on and on. I mean, if you'd have told me 40 years ago I would still be doing it like this, then I would have said, no, I'd probably be retired now, but I can see me being like the English version of BB King if it carries on like this.
I think it was quoted in the CD, the BB King of Buckingham.
Yeah,
I think it has to live up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, but,
And when you go to Japan, you know, like the Japanese, they're quite sort of renowned for like giving presents to the band. So did you get any nice presents when you arrived?
no, they didn't like me that much. No, not really. No, I mean, it was just courtesy. I found more than anything else. I mean, if presents were given in such a way that every time we went somewhere, they wouldn't let us pay for anything. You know, wouldn't let us. You know, we went out there and. It's crazy, really. We didn't really spend a penny. They just would not let us do it. No, no, you're our guest. You're our guest. Mm. And wonderful, wonderful.
And obviously, we got a new member in the band, Robert Stuart Matthews.
Yeah.
And I believe it's only his second or third gig those ones in Japan. Is that right?
It was, yeah. He was chucked in at the deep end. I knew Stu, who had been playing with me for about the last 7 years. He had been saying for more than a year before that. You know, he was sort of getting tired of being on the road and doing stuff, and he had other sort of private interests that he wanted to continue with, and he sort of made noises that he wasn't really comfortable with going to Japan for whatever his reasons were. So that was coming very close. This was about the October-November time. It was coming close, and also we were offered some shows with Blue Coupe, which a couple of guys from Blue Oyster Cult and one of the guys from Alice Cooper's band, and there were some good shows there. And of course we had the Butlins Rock and Blues Festival in Skegness as well. So Robbie I had known for 20-30 years. Lost contact with him, and then Cherry Lee Mewis and her band were opening for Stray at the Boom Boom Club a couple of years ago, and in walks Robbie. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm playing bass for Cherry now." So we found each other again, and we stayed in contact. And the last thing, I didn't want to break up any bands, but I just said to him, "Do you fancy doing these couple of gigs? Because I want to fulfil them." And he literally had about 2 rehearsals. Now, up until that point, our set could have gone on for 3 or 4 hours. We had that many songs. So we had to kind of cherry pick which ones to teach Robbie.
And he wasn't quite renowned for like not having no set list. You just pick and choose on the night.
No, that's right. I've never had I've not had a set list for years, so that was odd. Actually having a set list, so I better do the ones that Robbie knows. So I think the first gig we did with Blue Coupe, or with Robbie, first with Blue Coupe, and it was Hessel Town Hall near Hull, which is a few hundred people. The next night he was in front of about 5,000 people in Skegness. The following week I flew him out to the Jersey Opera House to do a show in front of a few hundred people. And then the following week I got him on a plane to Tokyo, and I remember him saying, "I'd rather like this." So it went from doing some lot of pubs and things into doing those kind of gigs.
And was there any nerves on his part? Because obviously he knew you were there to record a live album, so there's no time for mistakes, is there?
If he did, he covered it up very well. He's a bit of a showman, so he was all right. No, I guess I was kind of nervous about it as well. I don't normally get nervous as such, but obviously you approach something like that because once it's down, Yeah. And then going on a few months later, when they sent it was all done on a hard drive. They sent it over for us to mix it, and we had some problems with the machinery they recorded it on to actually decipher what was where. I think the drums were in that one, and then we had various problems mixing it because the actual sound coming out from the monitors was very loud, which was picking up in the vocal mics. And every time you tried to cut that, then everything else went quiet. So Chris Surgeonor, who was the engineer we worked with, he did a really good job. He spent hours just trying to make the sound right, not to lose anything in certain places. And we went backwards and forwards, and we remixed it several times before we could get the sound as close as what we think would be live without any other interruptions. And we also left out a few songs because I think I did say on the album sleeve that I felt that some of them in the comfort of your own home wouldn't really work. They were kind of great if you're there, soaking up the atmosphere. There was a few we had put like a jam session in. Having said that, we do have them, so if enough people ask for them, they could come out on.
You don't buy the single CD now, and
well, yeah, I mean,
you get badged on it, and get the full deluxe version in a few years' time.
Yeah, I mean, we do intend to go and record some new material, so it's quite possible we might just include them as bonus tracks, you know. Just.
I've heard the album, and the production is actually great. You know, it sounds really earthy, it's gritty, and it's in your face. You know, it's got a nice bit of oomph to it. Is the expression I like to use. Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we played it so much that after a while I thought to myself, I don't know if this is good or bad or indifferent. You know, I'm just so fed up with hearing it because we worked really hard trying to get it right. You know, with all the problems we had. Yeah. So I know a couple of people who've got their copies now because it's not out for another month. Have actually turned around and said to me, "Production sounds great," which I'm so pleased about. Because it's one of those things, that's with you for life.
Yeah,
if it's rubbish, then you'll never live that down.
No, it's a great live album, and I highly recommend you go and get it. And you've also been busy recently. You released a solo album, BROMHAM, 9 Yards. Yeah. And first question I'd like to ask you, actually, because the band on it is the same band as Stray. You got Cole on there, and there's Robbie. So I'd just like to sort of ask you, why do you release solo albums and Stray albums? Why couldn't you write your solo material? Why can that be Stray material?
Well, Robbie is on it, but that was kind of before. It wasn't kind of involved with the Stray thing at that time when I recorded some of those tracks. So I went in the studio and did it on my own. And Carl is the best drummer I know. And I thought,
yeah, he's a beastly drummer.
I've got to get him in. Can you lay the drums down? So I played all the instruments, he did the drums. One of the songs I wanted some blues harmonic on, and Robbie's a great blues harmonica player. And the same song called What Goes Around, I thought, I wanted to use Cherry Lee Nevis, I wanted to use her voice, and I couldn't think in what context. And the more I played this track back to myself, I thought, lyrically, it's kind of, I'm not saying it's question and answer, but it's almost like one person's making a statement about something and somebody else is putting their piece to it as well. And I got them in, and she is fantastic. I got her in, she'd never heard the song before, played through. Yeah, can I just have a go at the microphone? And Nigel Hart, who was my engineer, she had a go, and while she was having a go, he got her vocal level. And she said, I'll try it now. So we did it in the first take. While they were there, I said, it'd be nice if we could work together, the three of us, to do backing vocals. So the album has got the three of us doing the backing vocals. But that's kind of how that came about, really. And it's a funny old thing, a lot of it, I know it sounds a bit calculated, but it's funny because there's kind of a blues market growing in Great Britain in particular. There are people out there who are still very, I don't know if bias isn't the right word, but they wouldn't accept Stray, the name Stray, in that kind of blues market. Even though, you know, a lot of people say, well, Stray, you're a bit heavy metal. Well, we're not a heavy metal band, really. But it's funny, you just change the label on the tin and people accept it. So we did it primarily to sort of to try and find a new market, and recently what we've been doing is we've done a couple of shows where it's been kind of an evening with, and some people have been billing it BROMHAM of STRAY or Stray featuring me, which is quite good because it does give us the opportunity to kind of do a whole range of different songs. You know, putting Stray ones in, putting the bluesy ones in.
Well, funny enough, here we are at mine this weekend, and you did exactly that last night in a set, and you played Ballad of JD and What Comes Round, and it worked magnificently, actually. You know, sort of gave the set a nice balance. It was
a bit of a gamble. It was a bit of a gamble doing it, but Cherry was coming along, and I said, well, it's a wasted opportunity. We had our old friend Pete Dye come along to play guitar, and I thought, well, this is great. We can do some of the songs that we hadn't done for some years, getting Pete involved playing guitar with me and him singing. So bring him on as one guest and then bring Cherry on And I said to the other guys, is it alright with you if we do a couple from the solo album? And it all kind of works, and it's great. It's a great little team around me because everyone loves the music. So there's no kind of embarrassment or feeling awkward about, excuse me, is it okay if I play one of my songs? But in actual fact, something that came out in in Japan, was I had an interview out there, and even though they remember Stray from the 70s, I had a couple of very nice comments from reporters out there. It was like, oh, Stray, Del BROMHAM, same thing. So they can't, so sort of bringing it back to this country, I can do it now because I've written so many songs. About 80% of the band's songs over the years have been from me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I can do it. You know, if I can't do it now, I never will, I suppose.
And obviously, like the last Stray solo album, straight album, I should say, Valhalla. I think it came out in 2009. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, have you got any songs lined up for the next Stray album at all?
Yeah. I mean, I write all the time, you know, and I never know what kind of what route it's going to take, what format it's going to take. I knew with Valhalla I was at that point thinking I wanted something rockier, heavier. I was very fortunate enough, once again, it's almost really the way fate throws things at you. Chris Tangarigas, I knew him for years and years, lost contact with him. We found each other through that Facebook thingy. Hello, how you doing? I said, well, funny enough, Chris, I'm just thinking of doing another album. Come down to my studio. So we haggled about money. But I mean, he's the man, you know, for a guitarist point of view, he's the man to record a guitar with. And I was just pleased the way that the sound of that one came out, you know. Sounded very different, and I actually think we needed...
It sounded quite modern, actually, as well.
Well, precisely, I think we needed something, an outside influence to actually say that this is what, okay, there's your songs, this is how I think they should be sounding now. And he gave it, he sprinkled the magic dust on it, you know, all that we was after.
And you just mentioned last night, Pete Dyer guested with you, and in the parties always come up to the odd song, but he played the whole entire set last night.
He did.
And how was that for you? Was that an enjoyable experience? It's like, how different was it? What I mean is like,
well, funny.
To give you the freedom with the solos.
Well, going back to the 70s, before Pete arrived, we were a four-piece band. I was always the only guitar player, and then when it kind of resurrected itself about 15 years ago, I was the only guitar player again, you know, but that was a three-piece. Pete and I have always been very close, you know, almost like brothers really. And he'd come along and just got up and sung a few songs, and I wasn't really sure how he felt about playing guitar as well. And I think he came along so many times to see, and a couple of times he said, oh, I've got my guitar out at home. I said, well, you should do a bit more. And I don't really know how it came about, but last year he came along. I remember now, we did a gig at the Tropic in Ruislip, and which is quite close to where he lives. And he said his daughter had never seen him play. So he came along and learned some of the old tunes. Left it at that. And then I had this thought, it'd be nice to do Skegness and Mining, something different. The same as bringing Cherry on. And he said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So we just went through some of the tunes. We did twin guitar on. So we didn't do an awful lot of it, but we did a few. I was
like, there was a couple of songs in the set last night you don't normally find in a Stray set, you know. So.
Well, that was it. I mean, I think, in a way, the way it has been with the lineup we had before, Robbie, it was quite comfortable shoes, and we knew we could virtually go and do anything. But some of those tunes that we did last night really require another person to make them work. I mean, we had played some of those before, but they never stayed in. And I suppose it's the glory of having so many songs that you can, oh, we won't bother doing it, we can pick another one. But having Pete around, it just made sense to do.
Great, so well, there's plenty to look forward to. And there's also the album Stray live in Japan.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And it rocks, it really does. Dale, it's been great talking to you. Pleasure as always, sir. Wish you all the best for 2012.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye, everybody.
Cheers.